All right. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you join us from or would are joining us at the moment. As welcome to the All Nations League round 6 at the Hungary, and one of the very few tracks where we've had a full qualifying session, and we've got the session started off fairly late where we've come towards the end of qualifying. But let's see, as we see a lot of drivers now crossing the line. Let's see, Destroyer sign right, Sean right now with the provisional pole position, and it stands as is, as we have just one driver who's left to cross the line, as TTV Mr. Chris stays P10. So I'm not sure if the stream is on already. I hope the stream is live and the viewers can hear me. If there's anybody tuning into the chat, it'll be nice if I can get a quick confirmation of that. As coming to Division 1 of the All Nations League, a lot of fast drivers here, and I'm surely we are poised to have a great race. While in the meantime, as we go through the rest of the grid, I'm not sure what it looks like for the bottom 10, but let's see, the game will give me. Right, so it still gives me the list of qualifying 3. So that's Destroyer Sean for you on pole. Hashtag rounding up the front row. Danny with P3 and Mr. Psycho in the Red Bull taking up P4. Rutger, Flo, Phenomenon, Exo Wolf, Volcott, and Mr. Chris rounding up the top 10 there. So a lot of different constructors and same teams as well in the top 10. So let's see how strategy works out and what kind of weather we have for the race. As I believe there isn't any formation lap, but right now Mr. Psycho is leading the championship from Danny with a 4 point gap, and the top 10 separated by a meager 9 points there, and we still have 4 more races to go after this. Let's see how it works out, as this looks fairly like a dry session right now, and not sure if there is any kind of transitioning weather, but we'll find out over the course of 35 laps around Hungaroring, which in other words is also called Monaco without walls, a track really difficult to overtake. Mainly the start finish straight T1, T2, and the run up to 3 T4. Essentially, the points where you can make those moves, and probably down towards the end of sector 2, the slow right hander is also another corner where you can see cars going side by side. So let's see. There's no lack of pace amongst the drivers in this division. Let's see what kind of race they give us. As yep, a quick introduction to me as well. This is Easy Level Bot, your Division 2 driver, and volunteering to do comms. And I've been missing the comms box. I do it for a few other leagues. There is the Indian Racing League as well, and I'm from India. So formation lap is on in this one. Not wasn't on in the Division 2 race, but that gives us the ability to go through the tires of these drivers, as the front row drivers on different strategies there. So hashtag Danny, Rutger, Flo, Phenomenon, Exovos, Volcott, Crusty Nation. My apologies for getting all your pronunciations wrong, and Sui Ross and Igor, the drivers in the alternate strategy, all running the hard tires. Fairly a balanced distribution of mediums and hards, and no soft runner there, as we already have a disqualification in the likes of Vigo from the formation lap. He'd be starting on cold tires, so not the best of situations for him, but I'm sure he'll be able to get something out. It's a long race, 35 laps, a pretty short track Again, difficult to overtake. It'll be interesting to see what kind of setup these drivers are running. Somebody choosing to go for a compromising downforce for some greater straight line speed so that they can look to make any moves through the start finish straight. But let me just quickly set my audio settings as well. I think the engine sounds of these cars is just way too high, so probably I can just reduce that a bit so that the viewers can hear me. Hopefully they can hear me. I hope there isn't any problem. Let me. Hopefully I am all audible to our folks as I should now. Okay, game, please give me a good camera angle for the start as the last car is now almost lining up the grid. Yup, we have all cars lined up, engines revving, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, lights out and away we go. And hashtag gets a brilliant start there, almost challenging Destroyer Sean trying to cover on the inside. Meanwhile, Danny going on the outside. A bit of contact there. Hashtag goes on the inside, side by side go Destroyer Sean, who gets the better traction out there. But on those hard tires, hashtag really posing a big threat as these drivers again go wheel to wheel, and Destroyer Son takes his position and the top three remain as it is, as Mr. Psycho and Phenomena going side by side there, and yeah, Mr. Psycho still holding on to that position as there's a yellow flag and there's a Piast Alpha Tauri of Flo that has lost his car, and I'm not sure if that is contact or if he just lost it himself, as these drivers are now finding their rhythm and coming up to the pack. As there is a desync car of Digo, probably. I don't know if that is a desync or what that was, but looked pretty much coasted to me, as there is another yellow flag for Formula SB, so he also has not had the best of lap ones, as now Destroyer on those medium tires has almost pulled off a second from, as there's a spinner of. Oh, that's just as I said that, he just loses his car there, as hashtag now gets the lead of the race with Danny right behind him on those hard tires. Hopefully the timing screens come back to me, as there are two cars going side by side, but it's more of defense from Destroyer Sean, not willing to lose any more positions there as much as he has, as there's a yellow flag for the Phenomena, and he has lost a lot of positions, so a lot of lack of grip there, as there were cars, a bit of contact between the Alpine and the Haas driver, but the Alpine of Exo still holds on to that position, as Krusty Nation is looking to come back at him, as fairly all the drivers now trying to get into their rhythm, and there's pretty much a train of all these cars. I hope this interval for the top three also gets right for me, as all these cars now coming up towards the end of the second lap. Not any loom, not any much moves, as the Red Bull of Exo Wolves runs just a bit wide but still holds on to that position. So a DRS train forming here with the likes of Volcott leading that train right now, as DRS would be enabled this lap, but there's still one full lap to go before they can really make use of that DRS. As all these cars now, is he looking for a move down the inside of Rutger? He brakes fairly pretty late. Rutger, just a decent block pass there, as the Phenomena has retired from the session, and that's in the pit, so probably rear wing damage, something that he cannot continue with. As Formula SB, did he make a move on Digo? Yes, probably he did on the ghosted car of Digo there. Going back up to the leaders, Danny 6/10 away from hashtag on those same set of tires. Psycho is hot behind him on those medium set, which might just be giving him that extra grip that he needs. As the top four, hashtag Danny, Mr. Psycho and Chris, have pulled up a gap there. As what's happening as that's Josh King who has lost a lot of positions, or is it Sweet? Oh, Sweet Ross doesn't have a wing. Oh no, he does. He does probably. Hopefully, not a lot of damage for him. He can come back in the race. There's a long race to go. 33, 32 more laps, or 31 rather, as we speak. As now, hashtag in the lead of the race. Psycho looking at Danny, but Danny defends the middle of the track and would look to block his exit right there. As now they come through turn one, and no move going there. As Sean and Woolcott, Sean probably did make the move on Woolcott there, I think. So he is now on a recovery drive, trying to make the most. As Igor and Krusty Nation go with side by side, slight bit of contact there. Just a love tap from Igor into Krusty Nation, but let's see, he needs to hold up another lap before he can look to make any moves down there. As now coming back to the top three, it is a close battle, and Destroyer Sean now attaching himself to the train up in the lead, up attaching himself to the lead train. Beg your pardon, viewers. As now Woolcott just probably doesn't have a lot of threat from behind, and he can look to go into tire preservation and just keep along these top five. As the field fairly has now split up a 1.5 second gap between leaders, as there's a yellow flag for the Ferrari of Sui Ross. He has had a moment again, and Igor Jean Brox outbreaks himself, which gives Kai the opportunity to look on the inside, and no, still nothing doing there. There are yellow flags, or for still the stray car of Diego. I think he has probably retired in the pits or just gone into the pits. As Rutger, as Rutger has had a major moment coming out of turn 3, and that's not the best of results outcomes for him, and he can probably get his head back there. As coming back to the lead, the leaders still holding their ground, maintaining their gaps, trying to be within the DRS of each other and string along and pull away from the rest of the pack as much as they can. As Igor is still hard on procrastination, and Rutger has retired from the session. Is that a safety car? Yes, that is a safety car. The first safety car comes through. Cooked up tires probably for Rutger. Not sure what happened or if he lost the car just there. But would any of these drivers box, especially the medium runners? No, none of them do. The top, none of the drivers think about boxing at all. So they are still holding on to their strategy, probably banking on another safety car to come through. But let's see. 6 laps in, and we already have 3 drivers out of the session, one of them retiring in the pit lane, so not the best of results for them. And probably a good time to go back to our driver standings. Psycho, or rather before we get in there, we can probably have a look at how the position changes have been. And Chris in the Haas has gained 6 positions and finds himself up in P4, while Igor also has had a brilliant start and up into P10. Not the best of outcomes for Flo after that lap 1 spin, but he can definitely get his head back, and now safety car definitely resets everything. So let's see how these drivers cope up to it. As I hope the stream quality is also just fine. Had just a bit of technical problems sorting out linking the account, but all's well that ends well. Now 28 laps to go in this race, and talking about the driver standings, Psycho with a 4 point lead from Danny, and that lead might just get reduced by a couple of points if things stand how they are at the moment. But we never know; anything can happen in a race. And Flo and Kingsman following through. So that's those are the 9 points separating these top four, while Destroyer Sean is just a bit behind, but definitely one race win away from getting in the mix. As and talking about constructors, so the Mercedes of Kingsman, and I'm not sure if Righty is there or if the other Mercedes has taken the full-time seat of Formula SB. But let's see, though they are the ones leading the championship from Red Bull with again a slender margin of 9 points. So all is to play for. 6 rounds in, all is to play for in the All Nations League in this Division 1. So let's see how that goes through. As viewers of the stream, if you want to put in your predictions for this race as to who the top three would be, feel free to throw and we can probably have a debate. But Danny and hashtag look like they have a lot of pace on those hard tires, as safety car is also in this lap. So let's see when does Danny hashtag decide to go, as he has gone already. Has he? Yes, he has, and there is a decent gap to Danny that is there. And what's happening is Destroyer Song gets a 5 second penalty, and the top three have gotten just a big gap there, and that hashtag has just flown away with a mega restart, as there is the Alpine challenging the Haas on the inside, but nothing doing. The Haas shuts the door on him. See, the drivers cleanly navigate turn one. Oh, as there is a spinner of the Alpine, probably took a bit too much of the inside there, and he has lost a lot of positions there and finds himself at the back of the grid as going back to the lead. Yep, yep, that's alright. Game, just give me good angles. As now Danny has made up a bit of ground that he lost at the restart, and he would definitely be wanting to make that stick on to that and try to detach himself from the chasing Red Bull behind. As the Mercedes and the Haas would probably came a bit close together, but let's see, just a beautiful helicopter drone view of that race broadcast there. But as the Mercedes is looking eager on the Haas, let's see what happens down as they come through the start finish straight down into turn one. Any move? No, nothing doing for any of these drivers there. All right. There is a feisty battle that is going on between Krusty Nation, Igor, and Kai, the assassin. Kai looks for a peek, just trying to distract the Mercedes ahead, but nothing really happening down there, as 6 tenths or a second separating the top three. So Psycho has also got caught up on a bit of ground on those medium tires, so he would, let's see what kind of strategy, or does he look to make any kind of moves on those hard runners there, as Chris hasn't had the best of restarts and has just fallen a bit far back, which is inviting Woolcott into this, as there is a spinner of Alpine of Josh King, and he has lost his front wing. Hopefully he's got his engine running. I don't know if that was a reset to track or he got his car running, so but that's something for stewards to look into, as Psycho is really close to Danny this lap around, and DRS would also be enabled. I believe we have had two laps of green flag racing, I believe, or are they on the second lap? I think DRS might just be enabled by the end of this lap. Let's see. As there is a spinner of Woolcott, and Woolcott has just lost his car right there. So, oh, not the best of outcomes there. And on those hard tires, but they still have a lot of life in them. As Psycho is really close to Danny, and who is fairly close to Hashtag, but Hashtag has that half a second gap to him. And let's see if there is. Oh, Psycho just gets a bit squirrely at the exit, which invites Chris to take advantage of it. But does he have the straight line speed? No, he doesn't. Probably at this corner. So let's see now. Psycho has really needs to make up that ground, which he is getting better exits on those medium tires. But Danny and Hashtag retaining that top two positions, as Destroyer Sean is looking at the McLaren. He's almost kissing the rears. Does he look to make a move? Not really, a bit far away, and fairly a risky move to send one down that corner. As now he is fairly close as they come across this chicane on into the technical part of the track. This is a shitty camera angle that the game decides to give me, but I'm going to switch to the onboard and see if he's able to line his exit up. McLaren just goes a tad bit wide, but doesn't lose enough of speed there to do any damage for self. But now the short shot almost into the rails. Oh, a bit of glitchy. Make contact. The two drivers make contact, and double contact, and not the best of outcomes for Destroyer Sean, and he might just have clipped his front wing and damaged that in the process. But going back to lead, as Giron has had a major moment and he is losing a heap of positions there, and I got hot onto the Haas and still not able to make a move. Both the drivers running on the same compound, as the Alpha Tauri, Giron has to defend from the Alpha Tauri of flow behind, but now he can get his head back and try to keep his composure for the remainder of the race, as there is the top four are fairly pretty close to each other. Then Exo Wolves in the Red Bull, just followed by Krusty, as the Red Bull goes fairly a bit wide there, which gets the Haas within the DRS of Red Bull, which would be a breather for him, because the Mercedes was hounding his back like anything, and the McLaren, and so is the McLaren. But let's see if there is any kind of move coming. Krusty Nation losing it out. Does he have the DRS? No, he doesn't. Igor gets the advantage. Krusty Nation goes onto the middle and almost squeezing a bit of Haji Baji, goes on the inside. Those both two drivers go wheel to wheel. Oh, lot of contact between the two drivers, and Krusty Nation still keeps that position, which invites the McLaren of Kai to take that position onto him, as Formula has left the session, and the Kai makes a move up, and he has his red light flashing, so not a lot of battery to contend with for him, as now Igor just got caught in that battle for P6 with the Haas, but he would live to fight another day, as going back up, the top three or the top four still holding ground. No moves coming in yet, but with the laps going, I think the medium tires would definitely have lost their edge that Psycho would have had until now. But let's see, and these hard tires would pretty much give would have a better pace or a comparable pace to 12 lap old mediums, but Psycho is closing in. Is he probably deploying his battery, but it's not enough, and the corner comes in just a few meters early for him, and he can't really make the move there. And Chris has gotten probably detached a bit again from this pack, probably had a moment at the exit of the last corner, I'm not very sure. But this is a battle in the midfield that is fairly pretty intriguing. But and the Alpine uh, Destroyer Sean and Woolcourt side by side there, and Destroyer Sean making that move on him. So not a lot of probably damage done to him with that moment that he had with the McLaren. But there is a yellow flag for as we speak about the McLaren, and he has lost all the positions that he was on mode charge and really wanted to make that position on Crafty Nation as Josh King gets a 3 second time penalty, which would hurt his race definitely, but he's far back behind. All he'd want is a safety car right now for him to get back in the race as Igor has got back up to the Haas, and Woolcott also gets a 3 second time penalty. Track limit warnings there, accumulating a lot of warnings as no battles coming up, no overtakes coming up in the top three as well. And now looking at this midfield pack, nothing really doing right here as well. Is Woolcott trying to follow Destroyer on as much as he can? He might just be on those hard tires, would rather be giving him a better grip now than those 14 lap old mediums, but Destroyer Sean has no lack of pace there as Flo gets another 3 second time penalty, probably the first one for track limits there, as this battle for P6 is fairly an interesting one as Flo has attached himself for this battle, but it is Hungary after all, and a track very difficult to make any kind of moves. It's all about trying to undercut your opponent, and talking about undercut, the pit window would also be open for these medium runners. Do any of them decide to box right now? Not really. The safety car probably would have helped them with the tire wear. I can see droplets of rain, I believe. So yes, we do have transitioning conditions in the race, and that is probably precisely the reason as Sky the Assassin has retired from the session, and he has probably retired on the track. I think his car is still moving on the track map and has found itself a exit route at AI, but that's probably a penalty coming your way, sir. As Danny and hashtag are finding really close. Danny probably finding that extra grip in these changing conditions, and Igor gets a 3 second time penalty. Now when do these drivers box? Because it is definitely getting wet, and the rain seems to come upon really quick on this track, and as much as I failed to notice the changing conditions from sunny to overcast, but this is really going to boil things up as Danny getting that better grip. Is he? Do any of these drivers box? Danny, does he box? No, it makes the most of the moment. Hashtag found himself a bit squirrely, and Danny makes the most of it. He makes those moves, swerving left and right, all within the legitimate bounds, but now hashtag wants to come back at him. Nothing doing there as the Red Bull of Psycho also trying to get himself involved there. And Destroyer Son has boxed, and he has, and so has Josh King. Both have blinked for the set of intermediates. Let's monitor their progress as this is an interesting battle, and DRS has also been disabled. So that is pretty much the time where these drivers should be coming out on a set of intermediates. Let's see what kind of inroads can Destroyer Sean make onto those drivers and probably undercut a few people if he gets a brilliant outlap on those inters, as hashtag has lost a lot of ground, so he is really struggling to find a lot of grip in these transitioning conditions, and Mr. Psycho is also hot on him. But is he looking for a move? No, nothing doing. Gets very close to the tail of the Williams driver there, and hashtag not really having the best of moments. All these drivers should be going into the pits. Hopefully, nobody crossing the pit line. As yes, we would see. Oh, Krusty Nation misses his entry to the pits, and he would have to go for one more round on those tires. So that is not no good news for him at all. And Diego manages to get his car into the pits. I hope none of these drivers are really having any kind of, but there are a lot of double stacks that are happening. Let's see, as Destroyer Son now rounding up to start finish straight, where would he find himself? He, does he jump a few positions? I'm not very sure about it because he's come right behind or right around Woolcott now, but he would have the fresher tires and would get the better grip. But Woolcott, does he want to come back? He tries to, but nothing doing there. And Destroyer Sean probably still at the same position he was, so not really helping. But Krusty Nation has had a dismal entry, and now a dismal lap 18 for him. He's just skating around on those hard tires. But Psycho is really close on hashtag. Can he get a move there? Can you take the pit entry this time? Yes, you can. As coming, keeping an eye on this move. Is there a move coming from Psycho ALB? I don't think he has that straight line speed to be able to make any kind of move, as Chris has also finds himself eager into that battle, as Constellation losing all those positions, and he might come fairly close to Digo. He is a few car lengths away, so not really much of a problem for him there. But he has lost a heap of positions there, as Chris is now right at the back of the Red Bull. Any moves coming? Nothing coming yet, as this battle for P2 is something to look out for. That saw the rest of the race, as the field is fairly otherwise spacing. Oh, and the Haas has a major moment, and he has lost his front wing. So left end plate missing for him. So that's a ride back to the pits and detachment from the lead of the race. He would be really hoping for a safety car to get himself back in the race, as there are a lot of drivers way behind. But let's see if there is anything that might just happen here, as both the drivers tentative on the throttle, as they should be in these difficult conditions, but nothing really happening there or anywhere behind, as there's a yellow flag for Josh King. That was probably had a bit of a moment. So the Haas driver is not really having the best of the races. Still 15 laps to go, and Josh King has just left the session. So I don't know if that was a rage quit or a disconnection, but he's not really had the race he would have hoped for. As Psycho is really hounding hashtag, is probably getting that better drive in the middle sector, probably running higher downforce, and hashtag is just able to hold himself up in the straights. So that's the difference of probably the difference of setup that I suspect right there, which is helping hashtag in his defense for P2. But Psycho ALP pulls on the inside on that corner, gets that better drive, pushes just a bit wide there, but makes that move into P2. He was really frustrated sitting behind hashtag there and had to really get his elbows out. But hashtag wants to come back, and can he have that? Can he take any kind of advantage of the straight line speed that he has? He is closing, but probably still losing time. So not getting that drive, or not sure if that is really a setup difference. But that's a battle to look out for, and let's see if he can move any inroads onto Danny, who is comfortably leading and is poised to see himself like this for the remainder of the race and finally see the checkered flag. But let's see how that unfolds as hashtag is gradually losing a bit of time to Psycho on Igor is now at the back of Exo Wolves, and it goes looks for a dive down the exit. Exo sees his car coming, has to take the escape route and yield the position as well. Pretty a ballsy dive in those wet conditions, and Exo was respectful of the driver and making sure he doesn't get his car entangled there, as Flo also is right at the back of the Aston Martin of Jeroen. So let's see if there is anything that might come. He's just a few tenths away to be able to make any kind of inroads, but is there a difference? He not really doesn't get the exit that he would have hoped for to be able to make any kind of a challenge, but he also has Destroyer showing right behind it. Oh no, oh that's a left car, is it? Oh no. Oh sorry, I was with the AlphaTauri. Alright. Alright, so hashtag has fallen way back in this wet course uh, of the Grand Prix, and Psycho not really making any kind of inroads, rather just a couple of tenths up and down between the two drivers as there's a yellow flag and Exo Wolves has retired from the session. Oh, probably lost his car right at that exit, just a bit too early on the throttle, and that has called for a safety car yet again. So I don't think any of these drivers would be looking to pit because they pretty much can take these intermediate tires until the checkered flag. But would any driver want to take that bet? Danny doesn't want to, neither does the Red Bull, nor does the Williams, nor would the Mercedes, or the Aston Martin, or the AlphaTauri, or the Alpine, or the Williams, or the Haas, or the Ferrari, or the Haas again, or the Alpine. I don't think any of these drivers would want to go to the pit. Definitely not Josh King, because this is his best chance to attach himself right back to the grid. So, oops, a lot of position changes happening between the safety car. What was all that about? Anyway, these drivers have still maintained their positions. So probably a good news for Destroyer Sean. Maybe he might just Volcott just gets another time penalty under safety car. Oh, that's not what you really would want. And just talking about penalties, let's have a look at the penalty situation. 6 seconds of penalties for Igor and Volcott, and 3 seconds for the Aston Martin of Jerome and Flo, and as well as Josh. So that might just hurt them the end, but still a lot of laps to go. If they have their pace, they can probably build a gap that might not make them cede positions while they cross the checkered flag. As I believe the Alpine of Josh King should also be a. Oh, what's just happening here? Alright, all's well. As Josh King would also attach himself to the grid, but I am I'm not sure if he's already lapped in this whole thing because as much as but I think it's just a desync that he's probably going through. So hopefully that just figures itself out and the drivers are also mindful of that. For Danny and Psycho, the championship rivals, finding themselves in the top two and also pretty much poised Hungary and would have their eyes on the race victory. So and so would hashtag, though he has lost a bit of pace in the wet conditions, but he knows he in his list he can see two drivers behind him and all both of them have the penalties and so does the one at P6, so not really should be he should be rather be able to defend his position as the safety car is in this lap. So let's probably go on board with Psycho and see when does he decide to bolt the Alfa Romeo driver. As he goes, and yes, he goes. The Red Bull driver being alert there, just a few car lengths behind. Danny gets a brilliant exit though on those tires. And what's happening behind the Williams driver has gotten even a better exit there. Challenging side by side the Red Bull and the Williams driver. Williams driver on the outside looking to make that move. Yes, he does make that move. He has got a mega safety car restart and what's happening, and the Red Bull driver wants to come back at him, goes on the inside, blocks, what a great block pass there, and just prevents hashtag from getting a better exit there. And that's brilliant driver for these drivers. All this has just helped Danny go up, take his lead as the two Haas drivers are in formation there, and the Alpine of Josh, I believe, is also pretty hot right there. But let's see if there is anything that can happen, or was that destroyer Sean? But going back to, alright, let me just catch my, yep. Danny has built a 2-second lead there, and hashtag is under attack from Jeroen, who and the AlphaTauri and the AlphaTauri of Flo and Destroyer Sean almost going side by side down through that corner as now they come up close to the final corner. It's all about getting a better exit. The Aston Martin just runs a bit wide, which invites the Mercedes to take a peek down the inside, now trying to break the slipstream. Igor really getting the Aston Martin getting a brilliant drive on the Williams, I must say, and and that's a major moment for hashtag gets a bit squirrely. And is it going to be 3 wide moment? No, but the Aston Martin and the Mercedes are really going as they go side by side down across turn 2 and 3 and down to the run of turn 4. Who gets that better exit? Still side by side, none of those drivers really willing to wheel, but Igor still gets the move done. Or yep, I think he does get the move done. But Flo going onto those curves, get on those slippery curves in these conditions and losing a lot of positions there. As now this is just going to be really intense, the last 9 laps, as Jeroen wants. Did he have a moment which has caused Destroyer Sean to make a move on him? I'm not very sure, but going back up, the Mercedes, Williams, and the Alpine within half a second. And it's all about the exit at the final corner. Hashtag is still holding on to that P3, and he is really holding on to that P3 for his life there, as Igor is, and Jeroen, I don't know if cars are just ghosting through him and making that move, and he would be feeling all that contact in all of this. So that's not the best of news for Jeroen, and people are just making the most of his decent car, but he's probably feeling all that contact, I think, in all of this. But and he has really lost in a lot of positions there, as now Igor is still hot on, goes side by side, this very same corner he challenged Flo at, and hashtag has to cut that corner in that process. The Alpine has also gotten involved, and there was a lot of contact and aji baji. All these drivers having their elbows out now. Destroyer Sean would eager to make that move now, has to defend from the Mercedes driver, but still keeps that position and would look to attack as he just runs a bit wide, doesn't want to take that curb on the re-entry again, because that might just lodge his car for a skating round, but which doesn't really happen. But hashtag has decided to go in the pit, so I think he did really have some moment there, as the Mercedes just goes a bit wide, which invites Crafty Nation and these drivers. This is reminiscent of what happened in dry conditions between these two drivers, and they go side by side again. Crusty Nation just throwing Igor off the track there. Igor wants to come back, and so does ANL Flow wants to take, and they go three wide almost, and that's not the best of places to be in. And the Mercedes dives down the inside and takes that move, gets that position back. And ANL Flow, Krusty Nation has had a major moment and has lost two more positions to the Haas and the Alpha Tauri there. And the Haas drivers just making a bit of contact, and Chris and Krusty Nation side by side through that chicane, tricky chicane, and Krusty Nation's probably gets him back, but he has either been tapped behind by from the Haas or one of the drivers. I'm not very sure what happened, but this has gone a bit too hectic for all these drivers here, as Danny has pulled up a 3-second lead yet again from Psycho, who is comfortable in that P2 and just needs to hold himself as the decent car of Jeroen. And Ferrari are in each other. Oh my god, I don't know if they are in the race or not. I might just be all wrong about that as well, so I don't know if they are in the lobby or not. But I think this looks like AI speed for both these drivers, so it might just be those drivers making legit moves and not any kind of desync there. So yep. Oh yeah, definitely this is AI, which will just keep going together now for the rest of the race. That's probably always going to distract me in terms of anybody making a move, but AI being AI. I don't know, but they've split out now, so I am heavily confused whether these drivers are in the race. One of them surely doesn't look like, but I'm going to leave all of that now. But Josh King, I don't know if that's another driver who is in the race. I really think he is. Oh damn, I have no clue. I mean, I really have to stop going at these drivers, but Psycho has pulled off more than a second on Danny. So did Danny have a major moment on those tires somewhere in the previous lap? But not very sure, as the track is fairly spaced out. Rusty Nation would look to go for a move on Jero and there. Should Yep, not a lot of battles to really follow now, but Psycho is really making a lot of inroads onto Danny. Is is that mode push from him, and is he looking? Is he smelling the victory there? Because that cap is really coming down. And does does Danny have any kind of damage? Is what I would wonder now. Let me have a look. No visual damage per se. I don't know if, but he definitely seems to be struggling a bit. I think Danny did really have a moment somewhere in the last couple of laps, which has made him lose his 3.5 second lead, which has come down to just a second now. And this is just a moment of time where probably Danny might just have to defend really hard against Psycho for that race win, but we would keep an eye on that and would come back to it as Igor is making a lot of inroads on Destroyer Sean right now, and that this is also another battle to watch out for in the last few laps as and Crusty Nation is just coming out of the pits on a set of soft tires, so it has stopped raining as well. Alright, it has indeed. So I don't know. Let's see what kind of progress if he can make. 18.9 seconds is the gap to him and Josh King, who is ghosted, but I don't know, that would be truly reflective if he's in the lobby or not. That's something I think he isn't in the lobby, Josh King. So that might just not reflect the true pace difference that these tires might have. But looking at the track, it still looks like a bit of winter conditions for me. And, but Psycho has really found a lot of pace. So I don't know what's up with Danny, and if we would have DRS to be enabled in the last couple of that laps, that might just make things rather interesting. And there are a lot of drivers who are boxing. That means do they think it is dry enough to be fast? That soft would just be fast, so fast that they might be able to cover that distance in 3 laps. That is something really an interesting call, but yes, the track looks fairly pretty dry to me. I think it's a matter of a few corners or probably a lap and a half when DRS might just get enabled, but Psycho is really caught up all that time to Danny, and I definitely think this is some kind of damage because of the understeer he's having through some kind of corners. Oh yes, he has to slow himself down at the apexes. That is some kind of damage. Now DRS has been enabled now, going side by side, both these drivers side by side across the final contours. A bit of wheel rubbing. Psycho does find himself in the lead, but Danny will, and Psycho boxes for a set of soft tires. I'm sure 3 laps to go and he is going on a set of softs, and while Danny takes the bet of staying out, and so does Chris. He doesn't, these drivers don't think they have enough time there. It's all to find out. It's all to find out. It's Rusty Nation. Can he make the most out of this gamble as all the drivers now hustling out of the pit? Alright, Danny, 8 point. Let's have a look at the gap you have to the next dry runner. 18 seconds is the gap, and that gap is definitely probably coming down, and it should, like, is as well. But Josh King would be the first of the drivers who is disconnected, and not sure about Jeroen as well. So I think these are the AIs doing the AI things and not boxing, definitely for these 3 drivers. So they have definitely probably not been in the session, and no, it's not a desync, I think. But anyway, 8.5 is the gap to probably the first legitimate runner, as these drivers just fairly making their way through, as Psycho and Igor are really very close together. Igor, who had boxed the previous lap, finds himself very close to the Red Bull. Let's see if there is any kind of move coming here. It's just a brilliant drive there, Igor. Let's see what comes out of it. Igor following has the DRS from Red Bull deploying enough battery, and Igor has to still follow back. As we have 2 laps to go, and the gap is 12 seconds, so 6 seconds per lap. I think these soft runners might just run out of laps to be able to make that move, but take those positions on AI as much as you can. As I'm just getting so confused because of these AIs, as there is a yellow flag for hashtag, and hashtag is finding himself fighting for the race win for more than half the race now, is in the back of the pack and probably with a damaged wing as well, as Psycho is now 7 seconds behind with 1 lap to go. P3 is there, while he also has to defend from the Mercedes of Igor, who also has a time penalty, remember, so that's not Chris has had a major moment, I believe. I think something didn't really work out for him somewhere, because he was 7 seconds away, and he's just losing those positions now. 5.5 seconds is the gap to Danny and Psycho. What is going to unfold? We just have 2 more sectors to go. Oh, rather 1.5. Of just half a lap is all Psycho's got, but he's closing in at a rate of knots to Danny. Danny with probably a bit of front wing damage as well. I don't know how much, though. Destroyer Sean would also look to is 8.5 seconds behind. Let's see how much is he be able to catch up on that. 2 seconds now. Danny just has 2 corners to navigate for the race victory, and that would just have paid his gamble off. And while Psycho might just have hope for one more lap, but will he get the drive on Danny? Will he get Danny at the start finish line? No, he doesn't. 600 separating the top 2, and that was an intense finish to the race. Chris not having any penalties, and as a consequence of penalties, Igor drops down to P9 from P3. Digo not probably in the race, as Krusty Nation has had a mad recovery, full of ups and downs his race, but finds himself in P5. Flo, with a few spins here and there and a few contacts and incidents with a few drivers, still gets himself in the points position. Jeroen, probably another disconnected driver. Destroyer Sean, Igor and Josh rounding up the top 10. ANL Wolcott and hashtag missing out on those points. As wow, that was really one intense race that we had, and kudos to Danny for holding his tires on those dry phase. But this was really an intense race from dry to wet to dries. A lot of weather changes, a lot of strategy gambles paid off for some, while it laid the others off. So a brilliant drive by Danny, holding him P1. Great recovery by Psycho in the Red Bull, who finishes P2, and the Haas driver rounding up the podium positions. And this would be okay. I know the character of Psycho is a she, so I'm not sure if you are a he or a she, but congratulations on a P2, and I hope I get my pronouns right the next time around. But nonetheless, Danny holding up with that just one stop, taking that race victory. Psycho rounding up the top two, and Chris taking that final podium position. Diego probably a disconnected car. Krusty Nation, Flo, Chiron, Destroyer, Sean Agar, and Josh rounding up the top 10. Probably points for Volcott and hashtag since there were a lot of disconnected drivers there. But nonetheless, this was a brilliant race that we probably had, and I hope you enjoyed it too as much as I enjoyed commentating and spectating it. So until next week, for another some more great racing around. I'm not sure what the track is, but we'll have both our divisions back again at the same time tomorrow. Until then, bye bye to all our viewers. Have a good night and a good week ahead. Cheers.